Hello and welcome everyone to another tier list video. In this one, we will be going over the tier 2 creatures of Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and this time, we will not be forgetting Cove, okay? My bad about the last one. So, let's jump right into it. First up, we have Air Elementals. These creatures are absolutely wonderful, okay? Let me tell you all about them. They have 25 HP, the most HP out of any tier 2 unit by far. And they also have really good stats, and their damage is really good. It's high already, but their damage range is big. And what this means is that they get a lot of benefit from Bless, okay? If you bless these guys up, then they will be having actually the biggest increase in damage out of any creature that you can bless, okay? It's really good. You want to bless these guys up, they will tank forever. They are the core army of Confi early and mid game. They are wonderful units, one of the best, and certainly S tier. Now, Storm Elemental actually is not a direct upgrade from Air Elemental actually. Pretty much almost every single upgrade in the game of Heroes of Might and Magic 3 actually makes the unit just better. It makes the same unit just a little bit better. But Storm Elemental is not the case. It could be a downgrade in certain situations. It makes the unit different and gives it like different set of weaknesses and strengths. So you should be wary of upgrading these guys. You might be better off with Air Elementals based on your situation. Because of that, because of their very huge attack range, high damage, high stats, high HP, they still belong in the S tier alongside Air Elementals. But do you know that the Storm Elementals is not a direct upgrade? So keep that in mind. Next up, we have the Dwarves. And Dwarves, you probably expect them at the bottom, but they're actually not on the bottom. They actually make for really good meat. Rampy focuses on 2 power stacks, Centaurs and Gargoyles, and that they do a lot of damage. They're pretty fast, they can get damage off. And however, the Gargoyles usually need protection, and Dwarves do exactly that. So tier 2 creature fits into Rampart really well. They tank hives, they protect your archers, they are pretty solid all around. And they also have the resist ability, which could be actually at times pretty scary. Not rarely is it actually relevant, but you know, it could be. Like if you want to slow like a max treasury and then someone resists and then you have to like kite them awkwardly, you know, it could be like a little bit of a menace. I think they belong in C tier. Next up is the Battle Dwarf. You kick their speed up, you kick their stats up, you give them 40% to resist instead of 20, and these guys are actually a menace. Whenever you encounter like a big stack of these in the treasury, Dwarven treasury, the treasury immediately becomes like way harder to take. Also, actually on grass terrain especially, they can reach it like surprisingly fast. They are not that easy of a creature to fight. So actually I think they belong in B tier. Now, you usually don't see Battle Dwarves anyway. The reason is that upgrading your Centaurs, upgrading your Gargoyles, buying Mage Guild, buying some Pegasi and or Dendroids usually take priority over the Battle Dwarf upgrade. But if the building path for Rampart wasn't as contested with very many good options as it is right now, you would actually see Battle Dwarves way more often because they're actually pretty good solid units. I do like them when I get to use them. It's just that I don't get to use them because there's usually a better path to take. So B tier. There they are. Next up is we have Bacon. Now, Bacon ends up as a really bad unit, okay? They get fried all the time. Whenever I see these, I'm like, hell yeah! Experience! And they're getting something. Amazing. Very nice. So, in terms of enjoyment when I see them, they are S tier. But in terms of actual units, they are basically clunky Battle Dwarves, which puts them at C tier in my opinion. What the clunkiness means is that they're 2 hex units and they're slow 2 hex units, so what they end up doing is they block each other's path and then they walk like awkwardly, like half the stack move forward, half the stack moves back, and then they can just like single them out and kill them very easily. Because of this, they are really weak, their stats are not that good, they have a decent HP pool, but that doesn't really give them that much of an edge over anyone. Next up is we have the Gog. Gog, I don't really like this unit, okay? This unit kind of sucks. You don't really get that many of them. We get a decent chunk from Cal, but they don't really have many redeeming qualities as a shooter. They're not tanky, they don't deal a lot of damage, they are super generic, very basic, offers you nothing special. In my opinion, they are C tier. However, we have Magogs, and let me tell you all about them, okay? This is my favorite shooter, okay? In terms of actually being a shooter. They're not the most powerful, they're not the best in every single situation, but they are so enjoyable to play, okay? Ever since Horn of the Abyss, you actually get to target your fireball, meaning that you can more consistently get super juicy hits off with the fireball, because you can actually select where you want to, you can actually attack the ground, you know? And that makes a world of a difference. These guys can annihilate entire groups of enemies. They are very unique. So much fun to play when you get that big fireball off, okay? They are at least A tier in my opinion. I always go Cal when I play Inferno. Some people moved on to Ignatius, but I still love my Cal, okay? Because these Magogs are so much fun to use. I love them. So there they are. Next up is we have the Harpy. These guys are used to make your heroes fast on dungeon because they don't really have anything else, and their ability is not that like useful. Hit on a turn. So yeah, they're very generic units. They have okay HP, okay damage. They have a notable strength when it comes to actually using Bless, because their attack range is really high, 1 to 4, meaning that blessing them up will give you a big increase in damage, but the damage is still like not that high. They are not usually used as a power stack, they're used as a utility unit, and they make for a pretty decent utility unit. So I would say they belong in B tier. Next up is the Harpy Hag. Now then, this is a big step up in terms of the actual unit. They become speed 9, meaning that if you upgrade them on day 1 and give a Harpy Hag to every single side hero, your heroes are going to be like very fast, like Serpentfly kind of fast. That is very good, okay? I love them a lot. I recently have been upgrading Harpies almost every single day 1 of my dungeon gameplay, okay? They are wonderful creatures. They can also do some extra damage as a power stat because they do it for free, okay? Getting damage off for free, you know, they basically hit in turn, they don't really take a retail, so they are like a shooter with infinite projectiles, but with like a range cap, but that range cap usually is like no biggie, since you outspeed most of the things. But you don't get enough of them to make them like a relevant power stack, so they are nothing but like some extra damage that you get like every single turn. But still, I love them. They're super good utility. They are a decent chunk of extra damage. I would put them lower, A tier. There they go. Next up is we have the Leprechauns. These guys over here end up being not so good. They are pretty slow, they don't have a lot of HP, and actually the fact that they have the skill makes them even worse, because when you fight EA, Leprechauns, like, the first guy goes in, and then the other guys just cast. Okay? Good luck there, dude! Like, when one stag, like a few stags go in, and the other guys are just like the cheerleader squad cheering them on. So basically you can kill them one by one without even attempting to kite them. They kite themselves. They're so bad. Their AI is like absolute garbage, and it's honestly really funny to see them try to move at all ever. They are abysmal. I would say they're worse than dwarves. Sorry, Leprechauns. Next up is we have the Lizard Warrior. I mean, the Lizard, the Lizards. Lizardmen are decent shooters. They're actually just like Gogs, but tankier, meaning that they have more of presence in actual combat. Whenever you fight them, you are probably far more sad to see Gogs, I mean the Lizards, than Magogs. First of all, there's more of them, they're tankier, they deal a decent chunk of damage, and they're also very good with Bless. Because of that, I would say they are above Magogs and C tier, but not like far enough. But now the upgrade, Lizard Warriors become so good. They are very super tanky. They are very good with Bless, and they get good stats, and they actually have some speed now. And honestly, they are really underrated. They are really good, actually. They're a very generic kind of shooter, but they are a powerful generic shooter. I would actually put them at the top of B tier. There's like nothing special going their way, but that's okay because they make it up with like raw stats. Pretty cool. Next up is we have the tower tier 2 units, the Gargoyle. The Gargoyle is just like the Harpy Hag, used to make your heroes faster, used to take some retiles, used to block for your shooters, tank some, and so on. They're pretty good at what they do, they're a decent utility unit, and they belong in B tier in my opinion, alongside the Harpy. And the upgrade is also very, very similar to the Harpy Hag. The Obsidian Gargoyle, if you were to upgrade on day 1, you would also get speed 9 side heroes from day 1. And that is honestly so powerful. You get to chain so far better. You get to collect so many more resources, scout out so much more zone. Like, yeah, upgrading these guys on day 1 is like super underrated. You should do it almost every single time, except if you need the Master Gremlins to take a fight on day 1 specifically. Otherwise, Obsidian Gargoyles are a big increase in utility, power, speed, effectiveness for all of your roster. Really solid units, right there. There they are. They don't really make for like an extra side stack as the Harpy Hags do, so I would say they are lower than the Harpy Hags. There they are. Next up is we have the crewmates. The Cove tier 2 unit that is headless due to the weird corping that we have right now going on. But don't let their headless appearance fool you. They are really solid. In the cases where Cassiopeia is not available, or you have like tendency to play more for highs, you actually want to pick Derek. And Derek starts with 3 stacks of crewmates, and that makes for a really good beefy power stack. This beefy power stack can almost immediately go take a hive or 2, and then you have a power stack going on already. They are your shortcut to hives. They're really, really good at doing that. Because of that, they make a good power stack. And yeah. Not like a good power stack, but like an okay power stack that I would actually consider using decently well. Because of that, I would actually... Well, then again, crewmates are a little bit awkward, so I would put them at B tier. They're not really that good, they're not really good utility either. They don't block for you that well because they are not fast enough. Usually Nims take that role. So, yeah, they kind of are hive meat. And if you were to make them into a power stack, you would upgrade them to Seamen. And Men of the Sea ends up being a really, really, really good power stack. I would say they are like somewhere here. They are fast enough to take to hit things before they are hit. They are tanky, so they can actually tank hives. You can even take constants on them if you get like a little bit of blessed on offense. Like tier 2 constants are actually gonna be no problem for like 40 seamen, which should be no problem for you to get. Pretty solid. I like them. Next up is the Wolf Rider. Wolf Rider is not a very good unit. They don't have anything going their way except for like a little bit of speed. But they're clunky because they're a 2-hex unit. It's hard to actually maneuver them around. They don't do a lot of damage and they are very, very squishy, so you bleed them away immediately. Wolf Rider, in my opinion, is actually C tier. They're really bad. Like, they're almost unusable. They bleed too fast to actually use as meat. They're too clunky to use as utility. Hobgoblins outdo them in that kind of regard as well. But next up is we have the Wolf Raider. Now, that's a whole big upgrade right here, okay? These guys do an insane amount of damage. And they're super, super fast, so they actually can hit most of the things without getting hit. So the fact that they have a lot of damage because they attack twice is very well utilized for the faction. And it fits into the actual faction fantasy and gameplay perfectly well. One of the best design units. I love these guys. They are solid S tier in my opinion. Hell yeah. Go Wolf Raiders. And next up is we have the zombies, okay? Now, the zombies are pretty much irredeemable. You would, as a Necropolis player, you would actually put zombies in a skeleton grinder because skeletons, which I already consider bad units, are still less bad than zombies. Well, no, because you have to have a power stack, that's why you do that. In general, you actually wouldn't really do that for most cases, but yeah. they are abysmal. They ruin your morale. They are super slow, so they can't really get hit things. They are not a big threat to the enemy because they don't deal a lot of damage, meaning that they don't even get focused, so they're even bad as a meat shield. Not to mention positioning them as a meat shield is kind of difficult as well because they have no speed. They are extraordinarily bad. Okay? If you upgrade them to zombies, they become like a little bit better, but they are basically like a dwarf with downsides. So into the C tier they go, lower than the dwarf. And now we finally get to my favorite faction, Castle, tier 2 unit, okay? Castle has the Archer. The Archer is like the Gog and the Lizard, but less stats, less tanky. They are very, very bad. I would put them at D tier. They are irredeemably bad. They are almost borderline unusable. The only time you would use the archers instead of marksmen is either if you didn't get enough of them because you started not on Valeska but on another hero and then you actually had a bad roll as well, or when you don't have enough gold you immediately upgrade them and you have to take a few fights on archers in order to get the upgrade going. Those would be the only situations. Or when, you get them like you're not playing even castle, you get like some from a side hero that ended up being castle faction. Then, you don't have a choice but to use them. But if you upgrade them, they become the Marksmen, the highest damage shooter for... Actually, I'm not sure how their damage compares over to... compared to Storm Elemental. I'm pretty sure not Blessed, they end up doing a little bit more damage. But when you bless them, Storm Elemental does more. But anyway, the power stack of Marksman definitely does more damage in the early game than the power stack of Storm Elementals. The reason being is that you get 4 more Marksmen than you get Storm Elementals. And that's why they are the highest damage early power stack shooter. And they belong in S tier, at least on my list, okay? I love these guys. If you protect them, then they're gonna kill everything, okay? You can do whatever on them. Pickets, conservatories, boxes, items. They can clear 19 marksmen, can clear a maxi crypt with no problem with just a few Pokemon 1-stack casualties. They can do churchyards, they can do like whatever you want them to do. They require quite a bit of setup, most usually, and you have to play around them pretty... you have to dedicate yourself to actually playing around them quite a bit. They're not the kind of power stack that you can just use, however, wherever, and expect to succeed. That actually applies to Wolf Raiders quite a bit more than Marksman. They need even more play around. But anyway, you actually get really rewarded if you do so. So that's why I really like them. They're powerful and they reward good gameplay. So there they are in the S tier. And last, we have the Raj. The Raj is a really cool, unique unit. First of all, it gives you like an extra tavern for the sake of Den of Thieves information. So, getting a little bit extra info is kind of nice. They also have the Spy ability, which basically grants you expert level of vision at all times the unit is on a hero. And that's actually pretty good. It's very, very good for early diplomacy gameplay, even late game diplomacy gameplay. If you can get a few, they're actually really, really nice. As actual units, they are surprisingly tough. Many times I go in to kill some Rajas and they end up being a little bit too hard. Not like too hard, but usually a little bit harder than I would expect. They're speed 6 with a solid base stats, makes them, pretty menacing. Along with their special abilities, they're pretty cool to actually have. They are not that easy to fight. I would actually put them at A tier. Cool units. So this is my subjective tier 2 creature tier list for Heroes of Might and Magic 3, Horn of the Abyss. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching, and till next time, bye bye. Tomorrow I'll be covering tier 3 creatures naturally, and also today I'm having a 2v2 match with my buddy Hassar, and that should be quite exciting. We're gonna be playing Empty Jeebus. Team Jeebus actually template. So I'll catch you live. Till then.